The FBI footage has been released apparently. That's what the title alludes to. This is a raw reaction. I hadn't seen it, so we're going to watch it together. This video comes from Rizzle's YouTube page. I'll leave a link in the description. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Y'all know how we do it. We get right into it. Let's go.
This new footage just blew the lid off the PNB Rock case, and it's looking real bad for Big U. First it was the hit on Nipsey, but now it looks like he was behind the hit on PNB too. The FBI just confirmed some details that got everybody Big U is a straight-up menace. Big U hasn't been officially named in PNB Rock's murder case, but the details surrounding the situation make it hard to ignore certain connections. Luce Cannon, someone closely associated with Big U, admitted in an interview that they were both at Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles when PNB Rock was shot. First, he said he was alone.
The crazy part about it is I was at Roscoe's when it happened.
You know, dude was like, he wanted that
Why would you say that? Voluntarily. The internet getting these guys in trouble, man. It's crazy.
chain. He said no, and boop boop, no questions asked, and just took it and bounced.
But he stood on his business, but then it ultimately cost his life.
And then in another interview, Luce added Big Useless, probably referring to Big U to the mix.
I felt it was like super messed up because at the end of the day, it was me and Big Useless in there when it happened. So when it happened, I wish I could have just told him, like, bro, just give up the jury and we get it back to you later. But it just happened so fast and he wasn't cooperating.
That's crazy. Oh, wow. No, they gonna play that in court. I mean, his name Luce Cannon. His name is Luce Cannon. And normally you would just think that's just a name, but it's panning out this time. That's crazy.
U himself, however, was asked about the PNB situation, but as you can expect, he kept his mouth shut about where he was at the time.
The situation that happened with PNB Rock at Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles, you know, when it come down to that situation and everything like that, what are your thoughts on what happened to PNB?
I mean, it could happen to everybody. Just to be honest with you, I have spoke on that. It's about greed. You know what I mean? Greed, envy, same thing I did. I mean, I did that. I was on the other side of, I grew up and I lived on the other side of what PNB Rock was.
That alone is suspicious, but when you consider Big U's alleged reputation, it raises even more questions. People in LA don't believe in coincidences, especially when it comes to high-profile hits like this. Big U has long been accused of running an extortion racket, where people get robbed and then have to pay him to get their belongings back. That sounds eerily similar to what happened to PNB Rock, who was targeted for his jewelry right before he was killed. And now, with Big U being hit with a RICO indictment that includes charges for murder and extortion, it's
This nigga said a RICO. This nigga said RICO indictment. I guess.
clear he was involved in some heavy criminal activity. While PNB Rock's case wasn't specifically mentioned in the indictment, it does paint a bigger picture of the kind of business Big U was allegedly running. But just because Freddie Lee Trone was convicted for setting up the hit doesn't mean he was the only one involved. In the streets, the person who pulls the trigger or orchestrates the robbery is rarely the one making the real moves. Hits like this don't just happen randomly. There's often someone higher up calling the shots, but because of street code, fear, or knowing how the game works, nobody's gonna snitch on the person who gave the order. Loyalty and silence run deep in that world, especially when dealing with someone as powerful as Big U. So even though his name hasn't been officially tied to the case, that doesn't mean he wasn't involved. It just means nobody's willing to say it out loud. And with this new footage dropping, the streets are starting to take a much closer look at what really went down that day at Roscoe's.
So what's the footage, bro? We 3 minutes in. What's the footage?
Should have been a regular meal with family turned into a crime that shook the entire hip-hop world. But was this just a robbery gone wrong, or was there something way more calculated behind PNB Rock's murder? You see, with the clips we've just seen, Luce might have implicated himself and Big U in the case. Now, Luce didn't explicitly say, yeah, we did it, but he admits they were on location at the exact moment PNB Rock was robbed and shot. And considering everything we now know from this RICO indictment, where Big U was running an extortion racket, this is looking real shady. The way this operation supposedly worked was that Big U's crew would rob someone and later help them recover their stolen goods, but only after squeezing them for money or favors. And Luce's wording in that interview lines up with exactly that. People had to check in with either Big U alone or him and Big U in order to get their own stolen jewelry back. That sounds like an extortion setup. And again, in that RICO indictment, Luce is described as Big U's enforcer, the guy who was out there actually robbing people on Big U's orders. What makes this even crazier is that PNB Rock himself actually talked about these LA robberies before he was killed. In an interview with Bootleg Kev, he admitted that people had tried to rob him multiple times in LA before. He even warned others about it. PNB knew how dangerous it was, yet he still got caught up in a situation where Luce and Big U just so happened to be present when he got robbed and killed. That is highly sus. But there's yet another aspect to this whole messed up story. As we've been seeing lately, Luce and Big U have had serious beef for a while. Luce has been speaking out against Big U in interviews, even making wild claims, like saying that Big U was behind Nipsey Hussle's death. He claimed that before
In the PNB Rock situation, they done tried to do him there 2 or 3 times before. He was sick of the shit. So that's kind of why he stood his ground. Tried to call the dude bluff, really, probably. I don't know. Unfortunate situation.
Nipsey died, Big U called him and said Nipsey was already dead, but when Luce called Nipsey himself, he was still alive. Minutes later, Nipsey was shot. So Luce has been pushing the narrative that Big U sets people up for a while now. Now with this RICO case, Big U is under serious fire. People are questioning his entire operation. Luce's past statements are getting a second look, and
See, the Luce Cannon looking like a loose cannon. But kind of, part of me kind of want to believe that maybe Big U didn't have nothing to do with it, because why would Luce Cannon say these things, you know, if he knew that they were involved? You wasn't involved and you just happened to be there when the shit happened. You saw it like everybody else. Then you probably more inclined to speak freely. But Luce, if he was Big U's enforcer, like they say, he already know the business. He already know he shouldn't be talking about this stuff. You know, I just don't get it. So, like I say, part of me wants to believe maybe he can't be that loose-lipped. He can't be that loose-lipped. I mean, it can't be. Let's get back into it.
the internet is running wild with speculation. Big U's fate is looking grimmer by the day. He is in some serious legal trouble after the feds hit him with a massive 43-count indictment, and they are not playing. This case is exposing a whole different side of him, one that completely contradicts the public image he's been pushing for years. The feds are basically saying he was running a full-on criminal empire. According to the charges, he was leading a mafia-style organization called Big U Enterprise, and they were allegedly involved in all kinds of illegal activity. The indictment ties him to the 2021 killing of aspiring rapper Rayshawn Williams. While they haven't officially linked him to PNB Rock's case, a lot of people think there's more to uncover there. The feds also say he was running an extortion and fraud scheme where he'd set people up, rob them, and then help recover their stolen items for a price. And if that sounds familiar, it's because PNB Rock warned about these exact types of setups before his murder. On top of that, Big U's Developing Options charity was getting public money and NBA donations, but instead of using it for the community, he allegedly pocketed the cash for himself. Even worse, he was also accused of scamming COVID-19 relief funds. The feds claim he's been hiding money and dodging taxes for years. This isn't just some minor case. This is the type of indictment that puts people away for decades, if not life.
The other thing I don't understand about the charity foundation, he's entitled to a salary. He's entitled to a salary, so I don't get that. Maybe he did it wrong. Maybe the proper paperwork wasn't in order.
Feds made their move on March 19th, 2025, when Big U turned himself in. He's been sitting in custody ever since, and his arraignment is scheduled for April 8th, 2025. And let's be real, the feds don't drop a 43-count indictment unless they feel confident about their case. This is looking real bad for him. What's really crazy about all of this is how Big U has spent years branding himself as a reformed gang member and anti-gang activist. He's been out here working with city officials, NBA players, and community leaders, even getting funding from the mayor's office for his so-called community work. But behind the scenes, the feds are saying he was running a criminal operation the entire time. If these allegations are true, then Big U wasn't helping the community. He was
That's a nice picture right there. That's his magazine interview photo. They took a very nice picture.
Exploiting it. Right now, it's looking very unlikely that he'll walk away from this unscathed. A RICO charge alone is enough to put him away for years. And with
Bro, you say RICO one more time. One more time.
all the financial fraud, extortion, and red room allegations, he could be facing life in prison if convicted. At the end of the day, we're not saying Luce or Big U confessed to anything in their interviews, but their words were definitely reckless. The fact that Luce casually admitted to the two of them being inside the restaurant at the exact time of the robbery, knowing what we know about Big U's alleged extortion racket, makes this a huge red flag. So the question is, do y'all think Luce Cannon and Big U had a role in PNB Rock's murder? Or was it really just a coincidence? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.
So what y'all think? Y'all think it's just a coinky dink, or there are no coincidences? They said on the video the California people believe that there are no coincidences. But I'm interested to see how y'all feel about it. Leave me a comment down below. Hit the like button. And check out one of my other videos like this one right here. It might be something you're interested in. I'll catch y'all next time. No, peace.